Watch a mother cheetah for long enough, and you'll see something that doesn't fit the story we tell about animals. She catches a gazelle, gets it down, and then she lets it go. Not because she's full, not because something scared her off. She lets it go, steps back, and watches her cubs chase it. A gazelle with a head start, two inexperienced cubs, and a mother who could end this in 4 seconds, choosing not to. She is not hunting. She is teaching. We have a word for that. We just never thought it applied to them. For most of scientific history, the assumption was clean and comfortable. Animals are born with instincts. A spider doesn't need a lesson to build a web. A salmon doesn't need a map. The behavior is already in there, preloaded, waiting to execute. That assumption started cracking in the 1990s. It has not stopped cracking since. The technical definition of teaching in animal behavior research is surprisingly strict. For an animal to be considered a teacher, 3 things have to be true. The teacher must modify its behavior specifically in the presence of a naive observer. That modification must come at a cost to the teacher, and the observer must learn faster because of it. By that definition, humans were taught for thousands of years before we had schools. And by that same definition, other species have been doing it too. Meerkats run one of the most documented animal curricula on the planet. The lesson is scorpions. Scorpions are one of the meerkat's primary food sources, and also one of the most efficient ways for a young meerkat to die. So the adults don't just hand them over. They start with dead ones. Then ones with the stinger removed. Then, only once the pup has demonstrated enough competence, a live scorpion, intact, dangerous, and theirs to figure out. The progression is deliberate. Researchers who timed it found that pups raised with this scaffolded instruction became proficient scorpion hunters dramatically faster than pups who encountered them without guidance. The adults were not acting on instinct. Instinct doesn't grade on a curve. But that's mammals. We expect something from mammals. Ants are harder to explain. Tandem running is a behavior documented in a species called Temnothorax albipennis. When an ant finds a new nest site, it doesn't just release a chemical trail for others to follow. It finds a single nestmate, positions itself in front of it, and leads it there step by step, slowing down when the follower falls behind, waiting, moving again only when contact is reestablished. The leader arrives 4 times slower than it would traveling alone. That's the cost. The follower, meanwhile, arrives knowing not just the route, but the landmarks. It can lead others on its own afterward. One ant paid a significant cost to transfer a skill to another ant who had no prior knowledge. The ant is doing this with a rounding error's worth of what we have, and it still figured out that showing is better than just leaving a trail. Humpback whales teach their calves to sing. Not the full song, not immediately. The mother produces simplified versions of calls first, slower, shorter. The calf attempts them. The mother repeats. Over months, the complexity increases, the calf's accuracy improves, and eventually the song is passed. The specific vocal repertoire of a humpback whale is not genetic. It is learned. It is taught. And it drifts over time the way any cultural tradition does. New phrases added, old ones dropped, a living document passed between generations across thousands of miles of open ocean. What you're looking at when you watch that is not instinct. It's education. It just doesn't look like any classroom we built. Here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. In 2009, researchers studying wild orangutans documented mothers actively adjusting how they demonstrated skills based on whether their infant was watching. When the infant looked away, the mother slowed down or stopped. When the infant looked back, she resumed. She was monitoring attention. She was waiting for the student to be ready. That's not a behavior that makes any sense outside of a framework that includes something like the awareness that another mind needs to receive this. Orangutans have been observed doing something even harder to dismiss. If an infant attempts a skill incorrectly, the mother will sometimes physically reposition its hands. She corrects the technique, deliberately. Specifically, the same gesture a craftsperson makes when passing a trade to an apprentice. The meerkats, the ants, the whales, the orangutans, they're all doing different things in different contexts with completely different levels of neural complexity. But they're all doing the same thing underneath it, taking something they know, noticing that someone else doesn't, and changing their own behavior at their own expense to close that gap. We called that teaching. We built entire civilizations around it. We assumed it was ours. The cheetah's cubs eventually caught the gazelle. It took 3 tries. The mother watched the whole time. When they finally brought it down, she didn't take it from them. She waited until they were finished. Then she ate what was left. If you saw a human do that, you'd call them a good parent. You'd say they knew exactly what they were doing. The only reason we hesitate to say the same thing about the cheetah is that we've already decided what she's capable of. Maybe it's time we let her correct us.